Just as a reminder to everyone, as we put in the invitation as well, that we are recording this. We have some other members who were not able to attend, and we'll put this on our portal so that you can go back and reference things. We always encourage people to take a bunch of notes, but it's also helpful to kind of play back and put stuff into context sometimes. And of course, there's one other person. That will happen, so please ignore me. I'll let people in as they come, and we'll make sure to get information back to them. Hello to all that have just joined. You haven't missed anything. We were just waiting. We know there's always some technical difficulties, and as people are online and people are coming on later, but we're happy to have those of you that are here. And I can't be more excited than to introduce to you Towanda Livingston, who you guys are getting so much bang for your buck today, because she has a plethora of knowledge and background from not only the diversity, equity, and inclusion space, but also particularly government, right? A lot of times when we are thinking about subject matter experts, that those subject matter experts just know things from what they have read or what they have taught other people, haven't experienced for themselves, and haven't worked with that particular subject matter as much. But she has done it all, as well as things outside of that space. One of the other great things about Towanda is that I can't think of too many more people that are as excited and passionate about advocating for women in business particular, and making sure that you find the money. And that's what this certification session is about. We want you to leverage those things that are out there so that you can grow your business. So I'm going to stop talking, but just to reintroduce myself, I am Naomi Brown, owner of Her Corner, and I'm going to let Towanda take it away, because she has all the slides, and as a testament to how much there is, it was so hard to pare down some things on this. So we will make it available to you, and there'll be some things she'll go through very quickly, but I'm sure most importantly, we'll have time for Q&A afterwards, so that you can answer any questions that are specific to your business, because that's what Her Corner is about. We don't just want to throw information at you. We want you to be able to ask questions specific to your business. So we try to keep it intimate so everyone has enough time, and most importantly, informative. So Towanda, take it away.
Thank you, Naomi. Thank you for that generous introduction, and welcome everyone to today's Her Hour, where we're focusing on WOSB and EDWOSB. That's their affectionate name. That is the federal government's program of women-owned business, women-owned small business, and economically disadvantaged women-owned small business certification. I want to emphasize that today we're going to be going over the federal program. These two designations are for federal contracting opportunities, and as there are other certifications. Also, just want to make you aware that today, when I go over the eligibility criteria in the certification process, I'll be going over the free certification process that's through the SBA certification portal. There are approved third-party certifications. We'll learn more about them as we go along. When coaching businesses related to certification, I strongly recommend that they make certification or becoming certified, make it a part of their business development strategy. So today's objectives is to go over why WOSB, why EDWOSB certification, what is certification, how to become certified as a WOSB or EDWOSB, more importantly, how to leverage that certification for your business, and getting connected, making sure you get certified and you compete for these great opportunities for your business. As Naomi stated, we will have opportunity for questions and answers. I would encourage you to put your questions in the chat or jot them down, because when we come to that section, I will be ready to answer those questions for you. Also, I've included in this presentation a Her Corner toolbox, and that is filled with resources that you can leverage. Inside that toolbox, which is the last part of this presentation, you're going to find other resources that you can tap into to grow your business and for business development. Also, you're going to find other types of certification, other types of socioeconomic certifications, and those agencies that certify them. And you're going to find out, where do I find federal contracting opportunities? Well, I gave you some resources that you can tap in there so you can locate federal contracting opportunities that are the right size for your business. Also, I wanted to make sure I put in there a Ascent platform, which is the free learning platform for women entrepreneurs that is hosted by the SBA, is included in there. So all of those resources is in the toolbox. And they have hyperlinks that once you get the presentation, you can be able to click as opposed to going searching for them. So let's get started. So I wanted to ask a question. Did you know that, trillions of dollars are earmarked for minority and women-owned businesses through supplier diversity, minority and women business, socioeconomic programs in the public, private, and government sector? Trillions of dollars. So what part of trillions of dollars do you not want for your business? So the
Trillions.
Wow. Trillions.
That's,
trillions with a T. With a T.
With a T. We got to put that in perspective. Yes.
T. So the next few slides is the carrot, but it's also leveraging opportunities for your business as you pursue these certifications, because they are an investment. So did you know, by law, the federal government must, that's a must, award 23% of its contracting to small businesses, 5% to women-owned businesses, 5% to socioeconomically disadvantaged businesses, 3% to disabled veteran-owned small businesses, and 3% to historically underutilized business-owned small businesses. This is the government, across all government agencies, they must roll up to meet these goals. And they have an agency that sits on top of that, of the federal government agencies, to make sure they're meeting those goals. Now, all of these certifications all of these goals that I've mentioned have certifications that have set-asides and sole source opportunities and development and funding opportunities once you get those designations. So another part that you need to know is FAR. FAR is the Federal Acquisition Regulations. That is the rules and regulations that govern how the government will purchase anything and everything. A part of that FAR, it talks about the order of precedence or preference of socioeconomic and small businesses, and there is no order. So it could be a vanilla, what we call vanilla small business without a social economic designation, or it could be a socioeconomic designation. And what that means is that agencies can choose there's no hierarchy. They can choose how they're going to meet their small business goals for their particular agencies, with exception. For purchases that are $250,000 or more, what we call a simplified acquisition, contracting officers must, that's a must, consider socioeconomic set-asides before small business set-asides. That means they must consider certified women-owned businesses, EDWOSBs, which is economically disadvantaged businesses, 8A businesses, service disabled, hub zone businesses, before the vanilla, which is all small businesses, when they are looking at purchases of $250,000 or more. So you heard me talk about the overarching goals related to all federal agencies. Well, let me tell you how they did related to WOSB and EDWOSB. What was their performance? And this, again, gives you an idea of the capacity that's out there for you to tap into when it comes to federal contracting opportunities. So in fiscal year 2021, the federal government spent $22.3 billion, or 4.24%, with women-owned businesses and EDWOSB businesses. And that was as of November 2021. In fiscal year 20, they did 25.9 billion. And I want to emphasize billion. So again, I asked you what part of $1 trillion you don't want. Well, what part of $1 billion you don't want for your business? Now, keep in mind that the federal government of the United States is the largest customer in the world. And once they become your customer, you can definitely grow your business. This is why these designations are so very important, because once you make the largest customer in the world your business, you get an opportunity to grow with that large customer and go across the federal agencies. You might start with one agency and move to another agency. But look at the money that's on the table. Because let me just tell you, the sad fact is that we leave a lot of this money back on the table. Because again, we have trillions of dollars available and we're only getting billions. So again, there's a lot of money left on the table. And my job today is to help you get certified so you can claim some of that money, reoccurring money for your business. So just to give you an idea of the resource that's out there, just like you want to get to know your local banker, have a local banker you have a relationship with, well, you need to get to know your procurement technical assistant representative, and that's the PTAC Center. There are 94 of them nationwide. And in 2019, they served 57,000 clients and helped them win an estimated of $24 billion in government prime and subcontracting opportunities. Now, the PTAC Center, they just don't only focus on federal government, they focus on state and local and public contracting. So getting to know your local PTAC representative is going to be key in your business development strategy when you're trying to tap in to the federal government as a customer or grow your business with them.
And Towanda, I might add, like, with what you're doing, that how important it is, ladies, that of those billions and trillions, just imagine you only need like a 0.001% of that just to get to the $1 million mark. So as much as all of that money is out there and why money gets left on the table, we're trying to, don't let that number be too daunting and feeling like it's nothing that you can't access. It just means the opposite, like there's so much there for you. And that's what we want to do. So thanks for pointing that out, Towanda.
Now, I'm going to have to beg your indulgence for slide number 7. My table is not there, and I'm not sure why it's not showing, because it's definitely on the PDF version and on the PowerPoint version where I'm looking at the slides, the secondary slides.
So it's just the Zoom goblins. Don't worry about it. We can send it over to people, because people are just, like I said, joining as we go. So we'll make sure that everyone has access to the full table slide.
Great, because this table slide is very important, because we talked about the overarching federal goals, right? And we talked about they have socioeconomic goals overarching. Well, they flow down to each agency. Each agency has a customized small business goals. They have a small business prime goal and they have a small business subcontracting goal. And those goals are further flowed down to the socioeconomic groups. So the table showed the Department of Defense had a prime small business goal of 22% and a subcontracting goal of 33%. The Department of Transportation has a 41.4% prime small business goal and a 50% subcontracting goal. And you say, well, Towanda, why is that important? Because in your business pitch to these agencies, you're going to start out with your capabilities. And as it comes to a close, you're going to say, oh, by the way, did I tell you that I'm a WOSB or EDWOSB and I can help you meet your agency small business goal? And if they're falling short in that goal, and I'm going to talk about their scorecard, which you have access to, then you can say, I can help you close that gap. So again, able to leverage that information. This is business intelligence, doing your homework on your customer so you can play to win. When you're meeting with them, you're going to talk about your capabilities, but you're going to close it with how the icing on the cake, how you're going to help them meet their objectives. So I often get the question of what do public, government, private sector organizations purchase? Well, they purchase everything and anything. From, you think about it, they have barbershop services, food services, courier services, and as I state here, paper clips to pipe, office supplies to staff augmentation, solutions to staples, and so much more. As I stated, if you can think of it, the federal government is purchasing it. And that's what makes them the largest customer in the world. Another thing you need to know that's in the FAR, and again, this is you doing your homework on your customer and understanding how they buy, when they buy, why they buy, and what methods you can leverage as a part of your business development strategy. You're going to need to know the rule of two. So FAR talks about reserving acquisitions for over 3,000 to 250,000 to all small businesses. And it talks about a contracting officer can set aside an acquisition over 250,000 for small businesses to participate with reasonable expectation. And that reasonable expectation is that there is a potential two, that's the rule of two, businesses that are going to submit bids or offers, and or, I'm sorry, and not and or, it's and the award is going to be at a fair and reasonable price. So we're clear. The federal government micro purchases threshold for 2022 is 10,000, and their simplified acquisition threshold is 250,000. Knowing those numbers are very important because you, as a designated WOSB or EDWOSB, can definitely take advantage of the 10,000, those small micro purchases. And you, as you can see with the rule of two, you can take advantage of 3,000 to 250,000. And the exception rule. Remember, I mentioned the exception rule earlier, where over 250,000 contractor officers must consider a socioeconomic set aside first before opening it up to broader marketplace. So again, knowing those numbers are going to be very important. So what does the rule of two mean for the WOSB or EDWOSB? Now, this is very important. If you're already a WOSB, an EDWOSB, this is extremely important. And if you're going to become, which I hope you do, become a WOSB or EDWOSB, this is going to be very important. There are specific NAICS codes that the SBA has determined that there's underrepresentation of women-owned businesses or economically disadvantaged women-owned businesses. And there's specific NAICS codes, right? In order to qualify or be eligible for the set-asides and the sole source opportunities that come with those NAICS codes, your primary NAICS code must be one that has been identified as being underrepresented by the SBA. So there are specific goods and services NAICS codes that the SBA has determined that are eligible for set-asides and sole sources. And they are by NAICS code. The SBA publishes a table to let entities know which NAICS codes qualify for set-asides that are WOSB and EDWOSB. What I'm stating here is that your primary NAICS code in the system acquisition management system, which we'll talk about, must be one of those set-aside NAICS codes if you want to take advantage of the set-asides and the sole sources, which I encourage you to do so. So again, in this presentation, there is a tool of resources where I give you the link to that table that lets you know what NAICS codes are eligible as a WOSB and EDWOSB for set-asides and sole sources opportunities. Your goal is to make sure your primary NAICS code in SAM is one of those, so that you can get called on by the contracting officer or the using agency for those opportunities. Now, the rule of two. Again, the rule of two is that there must be at least two WOSB or EDWOSB firms that can submit an offer or a bid, and it must be fair and reasonable price. Also, contracting officers can award a direct select or sole source to a WOSB or EDWOSB if they're the only ones that can perform that work at a fair and reasonable market price in their particular territory or area. Again, I gave you the general rule of the rule of two for all small businesses. And now here's the specific rule of two for WOSB and EDWOSB. And this allows contracting officers, again, to restrict procurement competition to just WOSBs and just EDWOSBs. Okay, so you have the vanilla small business, everybody, and this is the specific, where the contract officers are specifically zoning in on WOSB and EDWOSB as the rule of two. So the question is, would you like to access and win these opportunities? So there's a strategic question on the table for you as an entrepreneur and a business owner. When you're pursuing any type of certification, you need to consider these questions, because certification is an investment for your business, and it's something that requires time and effort because you have to work that customer. So the questions you're going to ask yourself is, how much revenue is generated by customers who want you to be certified? And that's any type of certification. Will that increase with certification? Will your revenues increase with certification? Are prospective customers asking if you're certified? Are you losing contracts because you're not certified and it doesn't make you competitive in the marketplace? Are you competing in a market where you're the only woman or minority business providing that service? That's that sole source direct select. If you answer yes to any of these questions, I would strongly consider certification, and I would recommend certification for your business to help you grow your business. So what is certification, you might ask? Certification is an arduous sometimes and rigorous process where the agency authenticates your business or verifies your business as a minority-owned or woman-owned business. What they're trying to determine and certify is that you're 51% owned, operated, controlled. You have all the customary rights of ownership as the minority or woman-owned business. And it consists of screenings, auditing, reviewing of your financial records, and sometimes interviews and site visits. However, the basic criteria for certification, and that's all certifications, is that you must be a United States citizen. We talked about the 51% owned, operated, and controlled. You must be a for-profit business. Your headquarters must be located in the US or trusted territories, and you must be managed, control, making long-term decisions, and all the other customary rights of ownership must be exercised by the minority or woman-owned business. Now, all certifications are not created equal, and not all certifying bodies are created equal also. So you must do your homework if you're pursuing a specific certification. Today, we're talking about WOSB and EDWOSB, which is the federal designation, and there's only two ways you can become certified, and we're going to talk about that. So some of the areas that are audited when you're certified is ownership control, size standards. What they're trying to make sure is that the women owners has contributed capital, expertise, they have the highest position in the organization. No one can usurp their authority. They also, in some cases, will verify the net worth and the gross receipts in order to make sure you meet the size standards, making sure there's independence, and that the women owners have all, I can't say it enough, customary rights of ownership. Meaning if you want to sell the business, if you want to grow the business, if you want to move the business, no one can stop you. Now, some certifications do have graduation criteria that are based on the amount of money you're awarded or your company is awarded in contracting opportunities in a specific program, or the time, the length of time you've been in that program. So it could be dollar amount, it could be like a $12 million amount. If you hit that, then you're graduated, or you've been in the program for 9 years and then you're graduated. The point here is that I want to make you aware that when you're pursuing a certification and you're investing in it, you want to make sure you're aware of that. There's a cost of certification. I always state that you can make more money, but you can't make more time. So as a business owner, you must invest your time wisely and your money wisely. So there's costs associated in time and money when you're going for certification, and it varies by agency. You must consider the total cost of ownership when pursuing a certification, and that includes the initial certification, any renewals, and some certifying bodies require you to be a member of the organization, so there might be some membership fees, but again, you want to do your homework. And what I can share with you today, the cost of not being certified in a competitive market is immeasurable. As I told you, trillions of dollars. are on the table. To me, when you get certified, you're AAA in your business. You're authenticating your business. You're allowing your business to have access to opportunities they traditionally would have access to and decision makers. And then also, when leveraged properly, you can accelerate your business with the certification that will grow your business immensely. So you're authenticating your business as a woman-owned business. You're gaining access to contracting opportunities, development opportunity, financial services and resources, decision makers, and also guess what? You want to grow your business? This is a great way to accelerate the growth of your business. So some of the other benefits of becoming certified as a WOSB or EDWOSB, remember I told you about those eligible NAICS codes? Well, it makes you eligible for set-asides. Now, I don't particularly like the word set-aside because the connotation of set-aside is that somebody's giving you something and they're not. I really like the word competitive development because you're going to be competing against like-sized businesses and certified businesses for these opportunities. And so no one is going to give you anything. You're going to compete, and because you're the best, you're going to win them. So I wanted to share with you, as I stated earlier, the EDWOSB and the WOSB NAICS table. And this is the table that the SBA publishes to let entities, contracting officers know what NAICS codes qualify for set-asides. And so what I did was I pulled together a few so you can see from the table. And then again, you access this hyperlink, is going to give you the full list. So you'll see there's commercial, there's construction, there is screen printing, public relations. I put barbershops, beauty salons, food services, janitorial services, and you can see what set-asides they qualify, that they qualify for set-asides and what designation. So for the janitorial services, you see that there is a set-aside for EDWOSB. So contracting officers, if they have any janitorial services, they can set aside specifically for EDWOSBs for janitorial services. So just wanted to give you an idea of what those set-asides look like. So AAA in your business makes you eligible for set-asides. It also makes you eligible for sole sourcing and direct selects for specific NAICS codes. Now, only the sole source and the direct select is only if there's no other WOSB or EDWOSB that is available to compete with you. And also I wanted to let you know there's a ceiling, there's a cap on sole sources and direct selects for WOSB and EDWOSB, and that's 6.5 million for manufacturing and 4 million for other NAICS codes. AAA in your business makes you eligible for subcontracting preferences, makes you eligible for potential mentor protege programs, and like I stated, target funding. Now, let me pause because we want to make sure we're speaking the same language because I'm about to get into the eligibility criteria for WOSB and EDWOSB. So, competitive set-aside. This is where we talked about that rule of two. There needs to be at least 2 small businesses that can perform, and the contract award must be reasonable and fair market price. And then there's the sole source where there's only a limited or one firm that can do this business, and they want to direct select or go into direct negotiations with them. There is the North American Industry Classification Code System, and that is administered by the U.S. Department, the Census Bureau. And this is where they use the digit codes, the 6-digit codes are used as a classification system so that the federal government can analyze the business economy. That's what it's designed to do. It's designed to do empirical studies on our business economy. The SBA uses the NAICS codes to establish the small business size standards. So they determine, based on the number of employees and the gross receipts over a 3-year period, what qualifies as a small business. They further determine, based on those NAICS codes, they do an analysis to see if there's any underrepresentation in those NAICS codes of women-owned small business or economically disadvantaged women-owned small businesses. And then they create a separate table that identifies those WOSB or EDWOSB NICS codes for set-asides. What you should know that as of March 31st, the size standards were changed. And I put the link in here so you can take a look at the increases in the size standards. And they increased the size standards to give more businesses an opportunity to be in programs longer and more businesses to get some of this, make them eligible for some of the services and opportunities with the federal government. We talked about SAM. Now, SAM stands for the System for Award Management. Now, this is a government-wide portal where they've been working for years to bring everything related to federal government contracting and federal assistance under one platform. So all businesses or any agency receiving funding from the federal government must be registered in SAM. Nonprofit, for-profit, whether you're getting a grant or whether you're getting a contract opportunity, you must be registered in SAM. SAM is a great marketing tool because now you have access to all the folks who are doing businesses with the federal government, receiving grants from the federal government in one place. And you can market, do B2B marketing to them for either you want to be a strategic partner with them on a contract as a subcontractor, or you want to go with them on a joint venture, or you just want to sell goods and services to them. They're all there. You also need to be aware of the Data Universal Numbering System, which is the DUNS number. Now, the DUNS number, which is by Dun & Bradstreet, is what lenders and your potential business partners look at to determine your reliability and the financial stability of your company. Now, for years, the federal government has used this 9-digit identifier number, but as of April 1st, it was replaced by the Unique Entity Identifier, the UEI, which is now a 12-character alphanumeric ID number. Now, as a part of this transition, the DUNS number has been removed from SAM.gov. And those who are already registered, they can go in and look at their UEI number. And if you haven't registered, you can go in and set up your account and you will get a UEI number. Now, how the DUNS number switch over to UEI is going to impact the certification portal has not been shared to my knowledge as of yet. And I bring that up because the DUNS number is one of the numbers you need in order to get into the certification database so that you can certify your business as a woman-owned or small business. I'm sorry, woman-owned small business or economically disadvantaged woman-owned small business. So the purpose of the Federal Woman-Owned Small Business Program and the EDWOSB program is to provide contracting opportunities to women-owned businesses by various mechanisms. So the Code of Federal Regulations established the Women-Owned Small Business Federal Contracting Program, and the Small Business Act of the United States authorized various procurement mechanisms like set-aside, subcontracting opportunity, mentor and protege programs to ensure inclusion of women-owned small businesses in federal contracting. So we are now going to get into the basic WOSB certification eligibility requirements. And then I'm going to get into the basic EDWOSB certification eligibility requirements because it's slightly different. And basically the main difference between the two is EDWOSB, you have to submit much more personal financial information in order to become an EDWOSB. So the basic certification criteria of a WOSB: you must be a for-profit business, you must meet the small business size standards, 51% unconditionally owned, operated, and controlled by women or a woman. Now, we're going to get more into the unconditionally owned because I really want to dig a little bit deeper in that so you can understand what you're signing up for and what you're going to need to provide as documentation. And by the way, all of the eligibility requirements I'm going to go over requires proof, documentation, and evidence that must be uploaded into the certification portal when you're seeking the certification. So the women-owned businesses must be a U.S. citizen. And again, also your business, your headquarter business must be in a United States territory or in the United States, and the women of the business or the woman needs to control the day-to-day operations and make long-term decisions. Now, unconditional ownership, independency. Again, we talked about the 51%, but what they're talking about, I mean, direct means that the ownership cannot be through a holding company that limits the customary rights of ownership. So unconditionally means that there can be no conditions on the women or the woman owner, and she has the power to direct, move her business in any direction she wants to. Ownership cannot be subject to any acquisition. Voting stock, stock options, and partnerships. At least 51% of the class of partnership interests must be woman-owned, and in LLCs, at least 51% of each class member interest must be owned by a woman. Now, sole proprietors are also eligible for the WOSB and EDWOSB program, and their ownership is pretty easy to determine if they're sole proprietors. Now, corporations, S corps and C corps, at least 51% of each class of voting stock outstanding and 51% of the aggregate all stock that is outstanding must be owned by women. And that's going to be very, very important. And through the application process, the reason why I'm bringing up these eligibility criteria, because in the application portal, what we learned since 2020 is that certifications are not being approved or being returned because this information is not documented or evidence is not given to demonstrate that this is so. Additional information related to unconditional ownership. When we talk about long-term decisions, again, must be unilaterally. The powers of the women, they must have full control of the board. The women owners must have the highest position in the company. They must be able to make those decisions that direct the company, and no one can usurp them. Let's pay attention to devotion. This is very, very important under unconditional ownership. And here's where some of our women-owned businesses who are applying are getting tripped up at. You must demonstrate as a woman owner, whoever the majority woman owner is, must manage the company on a full-time basis and devote it full-time to the business during normal working hours of other businesses in that same industry. In other words, what they're saying is that the majority woman owner holding the highest position cannot have any other outside employment that prevents her from devoting sufficient time to the woman-owned small business or the EDWOSB. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't tell you that men and other entities can be involved in the management of the business as stockholders, partners, limited liability members. They also may have licenses for the business. Say, for example, you're in construction, there's specific trades that require licenses. The men can hold those licenses. So again, men can be involved in the business. However, they cannot have actual control or usurp the power of the women owners in the business. The women must maintain the control and the power for the business. Now, we took care of WOSB. Now let's talk about EDWOSB, because again, there's some additional requirements related if you want to go for the economically disadvantaged woman-owned small business. Now,
Towanda,
sure.
I have a quick insert question that came up. If you, it's clear that women need to be in control. Have you seen any pushback when maybe as a small business owner, you are the secretary, you are the everything, excuse me, for the business?
No.
Do they feel like you have, that's okay as well?
Yes, that is okay. So we get that in sole proprietorships and
Right.
LLCs.
Okay.
So you're everything. So there's no pushback as long as you can prove that in documentation that you're everything.
Great. Just don't want people to, like, oh, I'm not ready to be certified yet. I think you pointed out some great things in the beginning about whether or not it's worth it, but not to be afraid just because you're a one-stop shop or one-person show. So
No,
thank you.
no, I encourage you, if you're a sole proprietor or a single member LLC, again, if you want to grow your business and have one of the largest customers as your client, then you want to pursue the certification and get to doing business with the federal government. More importantly, never ever be afraid to be a freshman at the next level. So I know that you think you're too small. There's no business too small to do business with the federal government in some capacity. It requires that you just learn and get and tap into the resources that are going to help you grow your business, so that not only do you get the contracts, but you keep the contracts and you start to build your competency and capabilities with the federal government. So yes, sole members, LLCs, and sole proprietors, you can be every role in the company and you can still be certified as an EDWOSB or WOSB. Now, like I stated, the EDWOSB certification, it's required that you submit some additional financials. So not only do you have to meet the requirements of the WOSB program that we just went over, but you also need to meet the personal net worth requirement, the adjusted gross income requirement, and your personal assets threshold requirement. So for EDWOSB, the woman owner or the women owners each must present documentation that their personal net worth is less than $750,000, that each woman or the woman, their adjusted gross income averages over the previous 3 years, $350,000, and their personal assets are $6 million or less. Now, reminder, only certain NAICS codes are eligible for the set aside for EDWOSB. So if you're going to pursue the EDWOSB certification, make sure you look at that set aside table and select the primary NAICS code that's going to get you those preferences. If not, then the WOSB will do. Additional income information related to EDWOSB. The adjusted gross income for the past 3 years, if it exceeds the $350,000, then the SBA is going to presume that the woman is not economically disadvantaged. Now, the good note is that LLCs, S corps, and partnership may exclude, provided they give the documentation and evidence, income that they reinvested back into the business or they paid company taxes with. And income includes all sources of income when it comes to EDWOSB, not just W-2s, ownership draws, common company stock. However, you can refute or you can rebut what they say, unusual sources of income like inheritance and lottery winnings, meaning that you can request that is excluded from the determination of your personal net worth or assets. So personal net worth, we talked about the adjusted personal net worth must be $750,000 or less for each woman owner. So you can exclude from the personal net worth calculation equity in your personal residence, the equity in your business, the income that you reinvested back into the business or you pay company taxes, and 401k and retirement accounts. And then the adjusted net worth must not exceed 6 million. So, and again, I'm sorry, unadjusted net worth must not exceed 6 million. And here are some of those things that you want to consider under that area, which is the, as you know, the 401k and retirements are excluded, but your primary residence value and the valuation of your business are included. EDWOSB, when you're going for this certification, your spouse's financial information may be included. They may request that information as well, unless you and your spouse are legally separated. So spouse's financial information is typically requested when the spouse plays a role in the business, have lent you some money to start the business, or they sign a loan document to guarantee your loan or provided you some financial support. Spouse's financials may be requested if you and your spouse have the same type of business, share the same website and resources, your business name is the same. So again, that will open up the door for your spouse and financial information to be reported as a part of the certification process. So we just went over the eligibility criteria, the general eligibility criteria for WOSB, the general eligibility criteria for EDWOSB. Now let's talk about how you become certified. Remember I stated that in order to become certified, you need a DUNS number or unique entity identifier now, EIN-TIN number, MPIN numbers, and you must be fully registered in SAM. You cannot certify your business in the portal unless you're registered in SAM first. So you got to go to SAM, make sure you're fully registered, get your in this case, before it was the DUNS number, but the unique entity identifying number, your EIN or TIN number, your MPIN number, and get all your documentation ready so that you can submit your application for WOSB or EDWOSB. But it all starts with SAM because the certification portal extracts information from SAM based on your business and based on your business identification numbers. It's extracting that information over into the portal. So that's the way they're verifying your business. So there are two ways to become certified. Free, which we're talking about today, is the certification through the SBA certification website. That's free. If you do it on your own or you have a delegate do it, it's free. Now, there are for-fee certification third-party certifiers. There are 4 in the United States that have been approved as third-party certifiers. Now, keep in mind, even if you're certified with one of these third parties, you must still take your certification and enter your information in the SBA certification portal. Now, it will streamline the process of the application process in the portal, but you must take that information and enter it into the portal so that the contracting officers and others seeking goods and services can see your business and identify your business as being certified. Self-certification through the WOSB and EDWOSB, as you probably already know, ended October 15, 2020. All businesses are now required to be certified through the certification portal. Now, there are some businesses that before October 15th, they made sure they were self-certified. And if they were on contracts, if you're on contracts, you can use that certification until the end of that contract. However, renewals and new contracts will require you to be certified through this authentication process through the portal. Now, if you're a veteran-owned business and an 8A business, certified business, the application process in the portal is streamlined as well. So the veteran-owned businesses do the Center for Verification and Evaluation through the Veteran Affairs. If you're certified through there, you can use that your verification information as well as the documentation of your ownership controlled by women, uploaded it in the portal, and it'll streamline the process for you to get certified as a WOSB or EDWOSB. If you are a 8A certified firm, because the 8A certification requirements are the same as the EDWOSB, you can enter your 8A certification or your renewal letter into the system, and it'll streamline it so that you can get through the certification process quicker. Now, keep in mind, as I stated, EDWOSB and the 8A program certification criteria are the same. So in the certification portal, it's going to ask you whether you want to become a WOSB or EDWOSB. I encourage folks who are 8A certified to click EDWOSB, to opt for that, because you've already got the documentation and you've already been vetted through the 8A program, which makes you eligible for the EDWOSB and those set-aside opportunities as well. The 4 approved third-party certifiers are here, which is the Women Business Enterprise National Council, the National Women Business Owners Corporation, the U.S. Women's Chamber of Commerce, and the El Paso Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. They have all been approved by the SBA to be third-party certified for the WOSB or EDWOSB, but it is for a fee. because these entities certify other types of businesses, such as the Women Business Enterprise National Council also certifies what we call WEBs, Women Business Enterprise Firms. The WEB certification is accepted by all the private sector and some public and government sector. So that's why women-owned businesses will opt to get that certification so they can pursue private sector clients and then get the WOSB and EDWOSB to pursue federal clients. So just want to make you aware of who those certifying bodies are that have been approved by the SBA. Now, keep in mind their certification requirements may differ from the SBA, and the SBA may request additional documentation outside of what you provided this entity to become certified. Wanted to share with you, here's the homepage of the beta certified SBA.gov. This is the certification portal for women-owned small businesses and WOSBs. Again, I wanted you to get a good look at what that looks like. Here's the link to that particular website. Make sure you go to this one and not certified.sba.gov, which is the other one that's out there. You want to go to the beta.certified.sba.gov. And keep in mind that on this homepage, you'll see at the top here, you'll see prepare and you'll see knowledge base. They will become your friends as you go through the certification process through the portal. The prepare will give you a preparation checklist. The knowledge base will give you tools and resources that you can use to help troubleshoot or help you navigate through the certification portal. So, how to become certified? For free. Now, this is the free option. Again, there's different criteria possibly for the third-party certifiers. So if you opt to go through the SBA certification system or portal, preparation is going to be the key. You want to make sure you tap on that prepare link, get the preparation checklist for WOSB or EDWOSB so you can know all the documentation you need to pull together, put into an electronic folder because you're going to need to upload it, and all the questions and other things you may need in order to become certified. So preparation is key.
And Towanda, you've said that you were recommending free, and sometimes people think, is it just about time? Is there any, disadvantage to free versus, paying for someone to get it done? Just talk, very quickly, if you could, about why you feel like it's still okay to do the free version.
So free is advantageous to women-owned businesses that do not have the financial means to pay someone to go through this process, and they have the time to do it. You can hire a consultant and designate them as a delegate in the system to put the information. However, you will need to play a role in the attesting and submitting that application. So the advantages of hiring a consultant just frees up your time, but it will cost you money to do that. Now, in reference to free SBA and the third-party certifiers, the third parties, the advantages of the third-party certifiers is their network and what they give you access to. Because when you go to that third-party certifier, you're not only becoming a WBE or WOSB, now you're a part of their network, which means they will give you access to their corporate members. You have opportunity for matchmaking, development through them that's outside of the SBA. So you have the SBA because you're a WOSB and EDWOSB, but you'll also have one foot in the private sector as well, because now you have access to all the plethora of resources that being a member of that certifying body comes with. And
awesome. Go ahead, I'm sorry,
Naomi. Was there?
No, I was just saying awesome, like you put that in perspective of public and private, like you're balancing and kind of getting the best of both worlds if you do that, but you're also okay for now to do the free version. So
yes, because you're going to, and if you're just going after federal government, the free version may be, when I say free, meaning there's no application fee or membership fee to do the application. You can still put through the free version, hire a consultant to help you get through the certification. And that's where money comes into play. But it really comes down to whether or not, as the woman business owner, do you have the time, patience to do this process? And if there's any back and forth to troubleshoot those issues that may come up with your application. So it really comes down to that. And the other part of the benefits, I can't discount the benefits that come with those four approved certifying bodies, because they do offer additional benefits outside of the SBA. They may be advantageous if you're going after the private sector. And so remember I told you that one of your friends is going to be the knowledge base section. So the knowledge base section is very, very important to help troubleshoot through the platform, through the certification platform. It provides you with training and media, user guide, frequently asked questions, quick start training guide, and then there's some instructor-led training, and they will list those events and other supporting collateral. If you still have problems with the certification, don't forget to tap into your local partner, which is at the PTech Center. And then also I put the hyperlink to the actual user guide that's in the knowledge base, so you can have it at your fingertips. The SBA strives to have all applicants approved through the certification process in 90 days, 90 calendar days. And they will not review incomplete applications. You will know within 15 days of submitting your application whether or not your application is going to move on to the evaluation phase. So you can also say if you're up for a set aside or a sole source opportunity, you can reach out to that contracting officer, and you submitted your application already in the system. You can reach out to the contracting officer for that set aside and sole source and request that they have your certification expedited. Mm-hmm. So there is some expediting procedures. So, and the one easy one is to go to the actual solicitation, look at the contracting officer and reach out to them, say, hey, I submitted my certification application through the portal. I'm seeking your support with getting that expedited. And then they can help with getting your application expedited, which means a shorter time frame than 90 days. So remember that total cost of ownership of the certification is that you have to maintain your certification. So annually you will go into the system to confirm your eligibility, but every 3 years you will go through this rigorous and arduous process again to authenticate your business. Now, I have to tell you, there are some penalties for misrepresentation. Again, the whole point of moving WOSB and EDWOSB certification from self-certifying to authentication of the authentication of the business is to cut down on fraud. Unfortunately, husbands and other men were self-certifying women-owned businesses that were not legitimately women-owned businesses, and they were getting access to public and federal contracting. So to mitigate that, the SBA started this formal certification authentication process and to cut down on fraud and misrepresentation. So there are civil and criminal penalties, and you can be debarred from federal government contract or suspended. Now, we went over the application process for the actual system itself. And you going into the system and you actually submitting your application for approval through SBA. That's the free process. Now, since October 2020, there has been some lessons learned. Helping folks get certified, here are some of the tips that I'm sharing with you about the application process that you need to be aware of if you're going to seek the certification. Make sure you review your SAM registration prior to applying for the WOSB and EDWOSB certification. Make sure the majority woman business owner is the government point of contact in SAM Make sure you look at the set aside list of NICS code. And if you wanted to take advantage of those set asides and sole sources, make sure one of those NICS codes is your primary NICS code. Must make sure you have all of your documentation together before you start the application. And if you do not have some of your documentation, make sure you provide a written explanation as to why you don't have that documentation. Make sure when you're doing the application in the portal, you submit the front and back copies of your stock certificate, your stock ledger. And this is very important. This is where a lot of women-owned businesses are getting tripped up is the detailed resume summarizing their managerial experience, which is very important. Remember that operation and control piece they're auditing. And what was happening was that women were dusting off their old resume and submitting it. Well, the old resume doesn't detail your managerial experience. So I agree that you should dust off your old resume, but make sure it highlights all of your expertise and your managerial experience. And make sure all your business documents depict the ownership and control of the business by women or yourself as a woman. Now, also, we learned that single member LLCs, they're going to request your articles of incorporation and your operating agreement. Now, some single member LLCs do not have an operating agreement because it's a single member. However, the SBA is requesting that you submit an operating agreement. The good thing that operating agreements are boilerplate. You can find them online. If you have LegalZoom or what have you, you can get those operating agreements. And they used to accept just a letter that's saying I'm a single member, et cetera, and I don't have an operating agreement. But now they want to see the operating agreement, again, making sure that the women or the woman owner has unilateral control of the business, and the operating agreement states how the business is will be run. And then also a tip for the application process is that the majority woman business owner must start the application and claim the business. And at the end of the process, the application process, they must attest and submit it. So you can delegate in the application system, like you delegate to your consultant or someone on your team to upload the documents, answer the questions, but it's highly recommended that you get started, click that get start the application button, claim the business, and then you must attest and submit the application. Some other tips is that when you're claiming the business, again, making sure we found out that although the majority woman business owner was claiming the business in the application, when the application would not move forward in the system because the government business point of contact in SAM was not the same. So you want to make sure your profile in SAM is current, correct, and complete so you can move smoothly through the application. Another thing that was holding up applicants was the marketing partner identification number. Now, the MPIN is something that you've established when you set up your profile in SAM. It's a 4 to 12 character number. And some folks forget that number. If you forget that number, you would need to go back to SAM, go through some of your prompting questions to try to see if you can remember, or you need to reset it. And you would need to wait for that to update in order to continue with the application.
Yeah, that's really good. That's a really important point, Towanda, excuse me, because I haven't done that myself. You don't use that number often, but it's one of those roadblocks, like you can't move forward to do anything else if you don't have that number. So as you get that number, how we guard our social security numbers and we guard our tax ID numbers, that's one of those numbers that you put on your VIP list and keep, because it will stop you from moving forward.
Yes, especially federal contracting. You can't, and everything's going to come back to that MPIN number. So it's very, very important. So I just wanted to highlight that.
Thank you. Yes.
Because folks have forgotten their MPIN number, or they don't know how to reset it or get it. So you must go back into SAMS to get it. Now, if you go through all these steps I told you, and you still can't get your MPIN number, there is a help function that you can click and submit a ticket. for help with establishing it. The primary NICS code, I guess I went over this. I'm beating a dead horse because a dead horse is easy to beat. So again, the application is going to, the portal, the certification portal is going to extract information from SAMS. It's going to extract your primary NICS code. And so again, if you want to be eligible for set-asides and sole sources, which I strongly suggest you take advantage of to grow your business, you want to make sure that that primary NICS code is one that has been identified as the SBA as a set-aside NICS code. Primary business type. This is also going to be extracted from SAMS. So if there's a discrepancy with your primary business type or your primary NICS code, you're going to need to go back to sam.gov to correct it, wait for it to extract to the certification portal before you continue your application. So, and you're going to see when you go through the application, it's going to extract some information that's already going to be pre-populated and you cannot change. That's the information that is being extracted from SAM.
Right. And to that point, you have a primary business code. I know this was challenging for me because you like, well, I do this service and that service. Pick one. You can have other supplemental codes, but you always want to have one as your primary, and then you can change later, or not change later. You can change it later, but you can add supplemental other ones. But very important that you stick to that one so that there's continuity across your profiles.
Absolutely, Naomi, great point. You can have as many NICS codes as your services and goods that you provide. However, to take advantage of the set-asides and sole sources, your primary NICS code needs to be one that has been classified as a set-aside NICS code. So again,
and that you can prove you've done work in, right? Like you don't pick one that you don't have any past performance in.
It's not that you're picking it, you know, off the top of your head. It needs, you're going to have to prove it through your documentation, your resume, all that documentation that you're submitting is proving whether or not you have the expertise in this particular area. So I'm not asking you to just pick one, pick one that speaks to the capabilities and the competencies of your firm, but it just happens to be a set-aside one. And then I've seen profiles in small businesses, women-owned small businesses, that all of their NICS codes are set aside NICS code. And that's because of the nature of the business they're in and the size of their business. And it just happens to be one of the SBA's designated set-asides. But you can, as Naomi stated, you can have as many NICS codes as you want. I'm just suggesting, as a business development tip, is that you select one, of course, that meets your business profile, that is a set-aside opportunity one. This is another important point, your legal name. As a woman business owner, your legal name needs to be congruent or match on all your documentation submitted. Now, as women, we have married name and maiden names. So it is extremely important that you go through all your business documentation and make sure your legal name it matches to all your documentation, because sometimes that hangs up the application process as well. Corporations and S Corps, here's some of the challenges we see with them is the stock ledger and the stock certificates. Again, the corporation stock ledger and stock certificate must show that the women owners possess 51% of the outstanding stock. They have at least 51% of each class of stock. The voting stock is owned by women, and their articles and corporations and bylaws must depict that the women or the woman has control of the board of directors. So those, when you're a corporation, those are some of the challenges we're seeing in the application process of demonstrating that control. Now, we're going to talk about the streamlined application process that is for the 8A, for the veteran and the third-party certifiers. So if you're certified through any of those programs or a certifier, that third-party certifier, then you only need to complete 3 sections in the certification portal. Once you upload your information and documentation in the portal, it'll it'll definitely move you forward to the attest and submission page of the portal. It definitely streamlines the process submitting your application. So if you're 8A, you'll upload your recent annual letter or your acceptance letter if you've been in for 1 year or less. If you have a VA certification, you upload your certificate and supporting documentation. And if you have been certified by a third-party certifier, you upload a copy of your WOSB and EDWOSB certification from those third-party certifiers. So my goal is always to help minority and women-owned businesses' capabilities speak louder than their certification, because that's what you are selling. You're selling your capability, you're selling your services to that particular entity. And what you're going to close with is your certification. So you open with your capabilities, you close with your certification, because the certification could be your edge, could be your edge over the competition that gets you that sale, that customer, that client. So how do you position yourself to win? Well, first you have to identify yourself as a small business in the SAM.gov system. You want to leverage your socioeconomic certification, doing your homework on the agency, understanding that they have SB goals, small business goals, or socioeconomic goals is going to be key. And if they're falling short in those areas or need improvements in those areas, you can use that as a part of your marketing pitch. Leverage, if you have any past performance, any positive past performance with the federal government, you want to leverage that past performance. And if you don't worry. It's neutral in the area and you won't be evaluated in that area when it comes to the set-asides and the sole sources. But if you do have some positive past performance, make sure you highlight it in your profile in SAM. Ensure you have the adequate bonding and insurance for your business. Make sure all your licenses and certifications are current, correct, and complete for your industry. And when you register in SAM, it's going, if you recall, when you register, it asks whether you're a small business or not, and then took you through some additional formats that you had to fill out. That's so that it can populate the SBA, the SBA managed site, which is the dynamic small business search site. So it's SAM and it's the dynamic small business search site. SAM populates the dynamic small business search portal that is managed by the SBA and used by the contracting officers to do market research as to who's out there that can perform the work. So you want to make sure all your NICS codes, capability narratives, past performance, and references are up to date. You want to make sure in the SAM portal, as well as the capability statement that you create is compelling and solution and customer focused. Participate in sources sought through SAM, RFIs through SAMs, and sources sought is where the contracting officers is trying to identify if there's potential capability in the small business or socioeconomic small business market to perform specific work. And the RFI is simply where the government is trying to figure out, is there a solution out there for a problem they're having? If your time permits, participate in site visits and industry days, and bid on contracts that do not have set-asides. So by either participating as a subcontractor or showing your interest and letting the federal government know that there are small businesses out here that are interested in these type of contracting opportunities. We talked about doing your homework on the agency. Get to know, if target your agency as your business development plan, targeted agency or agencies, go to this link for the SBA to look at their scorecard, to see if there's any shortfalls in the socioeconomic or small business areas, and make sure that's a part of your marketing pitch to them. Build relationships with your PTEC representative, SBA representatives, market your certification. We talked about the dynamic small business. And one thing, if you access the dynamic small business search site portal that is managed by the SBA, I wanted to let you know that you can also find out information about your competition there. So other WOSBs or EDWOSBs you'll be competing against for set-asides and sole sources. So, and you know, it gives great information. We talked about the procurement technical assistance centers, again, 94 across the nation. They offer free one-on-one counseling. And one thing people don't realize that P-Tech Centers offers customer bid matching, meaning that their bid matching system accesses 2,000 public, federal, state, and local contracting databases, and they match them to your business profile to see whether or not you would be interested in those opportunities, and they'll email those to you. They also offer free resources and training. These are all free services. And people tend to devalue what is free, but I'm telling you, these services are invaluable.
Great. Towanda, we have one question, hand up, and because we're a little over on time, I just want to make sure. Jenny, I believe.
Hi. Yes. Hi. Good afternoon. I needed to jump. I have a 1:45 call, but I could possibly push it. Do we know how much more time we need so I can just try and shift this meeting?
I am almost at the end. I'm going to speed through the rest of these slides because it's almost at the end. I might got three more slides.
Okay, I'll let them know that I'm just gonna run late on the other meeting, but I'll be right back.
Thanks.
I apologize.
No worries. I just wanted to make sure I could stay on.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. I definitely value your time. So I'm going to quickly go through the rest of these slides. These are about connecting, making sure you get certified and you compete for opportunities. Here's the arm of the SBA that folks don't realize that is there. The SBA has an Office of Government Contracting. This office makes sure all federal agencies are meeting their small business goals and socioeconomic goals. They're also advocates for small and disadvantaged women-owned business service disabled businesses that are having trouble with competing for contracts in their particular region or with the federal government. And to learn who your local area PCR is, I put the link there so you can get to know them as well. So again, your network does increase your net worth, and we want to make sure you have the right partners in your circle. If you don't know your agency, so you target an agency, you need to get to know their small business specialists and contracting officers, but primarily the small business specialists. If you don't know your agency, the agency you're targeting small business specialists, you can contact the PCR that I just mentioned on the previous slide, and they will give you the contact sheet. Those specialists know what the micro purchases are, what the simplified acquisition purchases are, and any other forecast opportunities with those departments. Similarly, if you don't know who the contracting officers are, you can either contact the small business specialist or the PCR or the P-Tax Center, and they will be able to help you. Some other resources that you want to connect with, get on their newsletter, is the SBA district office for your area, and then your WOSB representatives for the departments that you are seeking. So most US departments or agencies have an WOSB representative, and you want to know if you're going after those opportunities there, who those folks are so they can champion you as well. There's over 100 women business centers that are supported by the SBA across the United States and growing. So again, they offer low-cost counseling and training and services. You can tap them as a resource when pursuing contracting with the federal government. And then I just wanted to make mention of the Women Business Enterprise National Council being one of the approved third-party certifiers, that they have 14 regional partners throughout the United States that you can tap into if you want to pursue private sector and federal government certification. So this is the end of the presentation. However, this presentation contains a resource area. So in this area, as I mentioned earlier, here's where you're going to learn about other certification designations, other resources you can tap into. Where are the federal contracting? How do you access those federal contracting, as well as many other resources in that area to help you grow your business? So that concludes the presentation. What's on your mind?
Wow, well, a lot. You certainly put a lot on everybody's mind, I think. That was awesome. Thank you so much, Towanda, from just looking at it for businesses that not only have products, but also have services, I think that that could be helpful. The rule of two, the difference in a lot of new changes that have gone on with the unique identifier number instead of Duns and Brads, and where, you know, sort of really breaking down the who, what, when, where, and how of all of this, and people in places that can advocate for you. All are great. And as you mentioned, we will be getting this out to everyone. I think Caitlin Foster has a question. We're going to unmute you and let you go ahead with your question, Caitlin. Or did I see you in the chat? Go ahead.
Oh, hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, I thank you so much. That was a lot of information, and I can't wait to get to the slides and do that. I've never even thought about doing business with the government. It was especially being in a Navy area in California, I always wondered how people did their business there, but I've never actually knew. So thank you so much for that information. My question is, when you what part of the starting as a small business owner, I've only been in business for the last, I would say, 3 years. When would you say would be a good time to, or would I be a good candidate to be a part of this program? I did go and try to, like, as we're talking, like, look and see my the codes that you mentioned. And I was just wondering, as a small business who hasn't been in business that long, would I be a good fit for the government contracts, or should I wait later on?
So the answer is, when you started your business, that's when you should become WOSB or EDWOSB. If you have a good or service that would be right for the federal government, you can definitely apply for the WOSB, and that's with any years of service. Now, let me just say this: the federal government likes to use the rule of five, being five, but really all women-owned entrepreneurs or women-owned businesses or entrepreneurs are eligible for WOSB. At any stage of their business, they can go in and register and submit their application and become certified. There's no need to wait, because remember, the longer you wait, that's the longer time you're out of that customer's line of sight, and your competition is gaining ahead of you in there. So get in there. You can always say no to an opportunity if a contracting officer contacts you. No is a complete sentence. So you always use that power of no, because you don't think that your capabilities is right for that particular opportunity, but you want to have the right of refusal to do that. So Caitlin, I would strongly encourage you, especially if your business is in a Navy territory, to become WOSB and then market to the Department of Defense, specifically the Navy, since you're in that area.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
And information is power. I think you also consider that when you get it, it may take a while for you to network and churn and get the business going, but you won't know about what's going on unless you're certified, right? That it sort of puts you into the conversation. And as you mentioned earlier, a network of other people and seminars and webinars, things that you can attend, that you'll start to make a plan and you'll see what other people are doing, and that will also help you.
Yes, because that AAA, don't forget that AAA I mentioned earlier: authenticate, access, and accelerate. Your certification will put you on the launching pad. And then your homework on that customer will cut through that inertia off of that launching pad to get to doing business with that particular agency. And you're right in their market territory, your local resource. So I would strongly encourage you to become certified right away. And like, there are other certifications that you can take advantage of, but that's definitely one, since you're in that territory.
Thank you.
All right, well, if we don't have any more questions or comments, again, I thank you so much all for your time, and thank Towanda again. We'll get you information. And yes, Towanda, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I just want to make sure, because I know I did a watershed of information, and that's why the slides are content heavy, so you can use it as a quick reference guide. They were intentionally set up that way. However, I just want to summarize what we talked about today, right? We talked about why WOSB, why EDWOSB will be great for growing your business, how you become certified, what's the criteria for certification, how do you leverage that certification, and more importantly, how do you connect, certify, and compete for those opportunities. It is my hope that you will use this information to not only become certified and to get into government contracting, but to get in, stay in until you win, and when it becomes a habit for your business. I'd like to thank you for your time. Thank you, Naomi, for allowing me this time. And thank you all.
Oh, thank you. Enough
Thank
said.
you.
Everybody make it a great week. As Towanda says, make it a great week on purpose. Thank you. Bye-bye.